This episode we're going to be talking about Psychopath Diary episode 14. The plot finally pulled me back into the series. I was contemplating dropping it. I thought it was going in one direction and it flipped on me 180 degrees. I'll talk about it a bit more at the end when we actually get there. The episode starts by showing us what happened after So In-woo tipped off the police as to Dong-shik's location. They arrive at the park where Dong-shik and Bo-kyung are meeting, but are misdirected by the rookie and her dad whilst Chil-sung warns Bo-kyung. They split up and In-woo witnesses Dong-shik being chased by the police and almost run over by Chil-sung as he tries to help him escape, but they manage to get away with a plan to hide in the last place that the police would expect them to be. And that place was behind a drinks chill cabinet in Bo-kyung's parents' shop. Bo-kyung's mother believes that he's innocent and lets him stay in her daughter's room. Bo-kyung lends him some of her father's clothes, and they discuss the fact that Dong-shik has started to regain his memories, and that whoever left the note in the escape room must be someone close to them. We then get to see In-woo walking into a board meeting where he has to fight his stepmother over bringing his half-brother back into the company again because of the way Dong-shik's perceived actions have tarnished the company name in association. His father is sitting at the head of the giant table with In-woo standing next to him as everyone else in attendance is sitting. He looks like a child getting admonished at a family gathering. This is his father's way of showing him that he still doesn't have his approval, something In-woo desperately wants, and that he's still in charge of the company. In-woo's father threatens him with the potential return of his hated half-brother as well. If we didn't know how dysfunctional this family was before, we do now, and it will only get weirder. In-woo rings Bo-kyung after the meeting in order to fish for information on Dong-shik, but she cuts him off, and this enrages him. Dong-shik is smuggled out of Bo-kyung's house by her and with the support of Rookie, dressed in her mother's clothing, and somehow that works. Don't ask me how, it's one of the most blatantly suspicious things I've ever seen. In order to try to get Dong-shik's memories of the real killer back, Bo-kyung and Chil-sung do their best to recreate the events that led to his memory being lost. This ends up with Bo-kyung's car ending up with a dent in the hood. I also got distracted by Chil-sung's fashion choice of deciding to wear two different clashing talent and pattern clothing items. This effort doesn't work, so they decide that his family would probably be the best at bringing back his memory. Their restaurant is still being watched by the police, hoping to catch Dong-shik and being graffitied. So Chil-sung has them come to the loan shark office his gang operates. When they're reunited, everyone cries, even the lads that are part of the gang, before they get kicked out by Chil-sung. Dong-shik's mother brought a load of things from his childhood to try and stimulate his memory, and they try to figure out why he was at the construction site in the first place. His father remembers their last conversation before the accident and realises that he might have been trying to kill himself and blames himself for what happened. His father has shown a lot of emotional growth throughout the series so far. In the flashback he's very brusque and stern, but now he's a lot more emotionally open. Chil-sung suggests hitting Dong-shik in the head again to knock the memories back into place. This isn't how trauma to the brain is fixed, by the way. It would have just resulted in more brain damage, concussion, or a skull fracture, but because this is a TV show, when his father hits him in the head with a frying pan, Dong-shik's memories return after a comedy freeze frame. He wakes up in bed after a flashback to the fateful night with a bandage round his head. Now he knows that the real killer is In-woo, as he thinks back over all the dodgy shit In-woo has said to him so far, and Dong-shik is determined that he's not going to get away with this. Bo-kyung wakes up to find that he's already gone and has left her a letter. In-woo tries to scout out information on Dong-shik by watching his parents' restaurant, but is seen by Chil-sung and Bo-kyung turns up with the letter, reading it in front of In-woo, who puts on a show of being worried. Speaking of the letter, when we actually get to see it, Dong-shik has used an entire sheet of A4 to write a message that would fit on a piece of A7. and it's not even in the centre, it's like weirdly wonky. Inu's happy with the contents of the letter where Dong-shik claims to not remember who the real killer is and tells his family to give up on him. He leaves, promising Bo-kyung that if Dong-shik messages him, he'll let her know and that she should reciprocate this. Inu walks away thinking that he's back in control of Bo-kyung, but now she's suspicious of him too. Chil-sung continues following Inu, and we find out the letter was a ruse to draw Inu out, whilst covering that Dong-shik knows he's the killer. Inu, boosted by thinking he's back in charge of the situation, sits in his murder cave, surrounded by weapons, way too many candles that are being burned way too close together, it's seriously a fire hazard, and laughs whilst listening to fancy violin music. He's planning how best to kill Dong-shik. Inu has 2 giant metal sculptures on his desk that are arranged to square up against one another. He may be rich, but he has no taste. Dong-shik rings Inu from a phone booth. He pleadingly asks to meet Inu, something that worries Chil-sung and Bo-kyung, but Dong-shik is determined. They meet at the same bar we've seen the whole series, but not without Dong-shik making Inu wait for him. Dong-shik does a good job playing into Inu's game. He knows that he enjoys watching him suffer and being in a position of power over him. Whilst crying and begging Inu to help him escape the law, he drugs him, causing him to pass out in the bathroom before Dong-shik brazenly shoves him into a car in front of a CCTV camera, resulting in the police searching for him and searching Inu's house. Meanwhile, Dong-shik and Chil-sung have Inu tied to a hospital bed in the escape room. The police don't find anything in the house, and now Inu is going to wake up and know that they've been through his stuff, because there's still 2 episodes left. In order to deal with Inu, Dong-shik orders Chil-sung to go get the car as he finds a knife. Inu, who was pretending to still be unconscious, grabs the knife as Dong-shik attempts to strike him with it, and they fight, leading to the knife being dropped. The book used as a lever to open the secret room is almost discovered by Bo-kyung, but the police decide to call in more help and it gets missed. Inu mocks Dong-shik's plan as he stands on his arm, and Dong-shik threatens to kill him and bites his leg. Now Inu has the knife and is in kill mode. Chil-sung rings Bo-kyung crying to tell her Dong-shik is planning to film himself being killed by Inu and for them to use that as evidence to take him down. Not a particularly smart choice. Inu tells Dong-shik that the police will believe him when he says he killed him in self-defense, and that he's managed to make all his murders look like suicides thus far. He's very confident that he'll get away with it again. The camera zooms into a mantelpiece on which is a framed display of taxidermied butterflies, something you could see as a metaphor for how Inu sees his victims. A collection neatly organised and under his control. We then see the secret camera Dong-shik is using. Inu stabs Dong-shik with a knife, but it doesn't penetrate the clothing. It's dull, it's fake, it's a prop knife from the escape room itself. As Dong-gu tries to flee to the car where Chil-sung is waiting, he gets kidnapped. Inu, who was chasing after him, recognises the car and that his father probably has something to do with this. Chil-sung, who witnessed the kidnapping, informs Bo-kyung that the plan has gone wrong. The kidnapper ends up being Inu's younger brother, acting on the orders of his father. Inu returns home to find it having been gone through by the police, but that his secret place remains hidden. He receives a phone call from his secretary to say that his younger brother has returned to the country secretly under his father's orders. Inu's worst nightmare is happening. Daddy wants to replace him for doing such a sloppy job. He gets enraged again, but seriously means business this time, grabbing the nearest knife in the murder room. The kidnappers bring Dong-shik to the hunting cabin of Inu's father in the snow, where he attempts to bribe a horrified Dong-shik into leaving the country and covering up Inu's sins for the good of the company. Inu's secretary is questioned by Bo-kyung as to his whereabouts and why the car used to kidnap Dong-shik had So Ji-hoon's license plates. She continues covering up for Inu unrepentantly, showing us that doing nothing in the face of evil is also evil. Despite this hard blocking, Bo-kyung knows that the secretary knows something, and demands to know where So Ji-hoon is. Dong-sik belittles Inu's father's arrogance in believing he could be bought off, and that getting rid of him would stop Inu's killing. Quote, "Do you think getting rid of me will stop him? He'll never be able to stop killing of his own will." To demonstrate this, we cut to all the guards outside of the hunting lodge being killed by Inu with the knife he brought from home. Ji-hoon and his father stuffed Dong-sik into a small room, both actually looking worried. Dong-sik escapes through a window with the taping device he's been hiding under his coat. Inu arrives, confronting his father on the return of his half-brother, to which his father says that he's had enough chances and the business is about reducing risk. Inu asks how his father plans to deal with a risk like him, at which Ji-hoon arrives brandishing a hunting rifle, anxiously whilst accusing Inu of being a serial killer, something that Inu finds amusing and their father is actually worried about, something that we haven't actually seen from his father is any emotion whatsoever. So this is very strange for him and out of character. Ji-hoon suggests that they kill Inu and cover it up. Inu doesn't think he has it in him and calls him out on not even loading the gun before pulling it out. He then takes it from him. Quote, "You begged Dong-sik to save your life. Who do you think you are to point a gun at me?" Dong-sik, who has now made it outside and witnessed the bodies of the guards, sees Inu's father get on his knees and beg Inu not to kill his brother and that he'll give him what he wants through a window. The company, the legal and illegal money. Inu appears hurt by this, whether that's because his father has misjudged that he only wants power and monetary gain, not his love and support, or that the strong and ruthless father that he had looked up to for so long, who pushed him constantly to become stronger and more ruthless, with no clear path to an end goal of taking over the company, was crumbling over his weakest son, and suddenly it's easy to give Inu the things he wants. It's not only to Inu at this point. He suddenly switches from aiming at Ji-hoon to shooting his father 2 times in the chest, and making Ji-hoon hand over the remaining bullets to aim the gun at Dong-sik, who he sees looking through the window, a witness to the crime. Things moved very quickly this episode, which I suppose, with there only being 2 left, they kind of have to move at a fast pace now. Also, I was not expecting Inu to kill his father, ever, because of their weird relationship. I was much more expecting him to kill his brother, which he hasn't done to this point. I mean, it might happen in the next episode, but I think he might not kill his brother. So we'll have to see. See you in the next episode.